The following content is supported by victoris.org.
Okay, so now we can actually start taking user input. Okay, so computers, Python can calculate stuff and that's nice and all, but in reality, we want Python to interact with the user, right? So what if, let's say, I create a variable called animal equals to cat, and then I print I also like plus animal. Can you guess what the output is going to be? It takes the string I also like plus the string
Cat.
animal. Yeah, so what's the output?
I also like cat.
Yes, exactly. Okay, but what if, let's say, this became dog? Then it'll be I also like dog, right? But this is boring because when I press run, the computer does its stuff and it just prints out the output. But I want to interact with the computer on the right hand side in the console. So I can take in user's input by typing input and put the round brackets, and inside these round brackets will be whatever I want to prompt the user. So I'm gonna now put in a string saying, what is your favorite animal? Okay, then when I press run, now what do we see? We see it asks me what's your favorite animal. And now I don't see the output yet. It's because it's waiting for me to type something in the console. So now if I answer the computer, I write cat, right? Whatever I type over here it'll be returned as it'll replace this input thing. And I'm basically saying animal equals to cat. So if I press enter now, it says I also like cat. Now if I press run and I say owl, it says I also like owl. So now whatever the user inputted, right, it was stored in the variable called animal, and then I print I also like plus animal. Okay, so now we see that we have basically taken the user's input as a variable, and then we've done some stuff with the variable to produce some output. Okay, and now question. So this is nice and all, but what if I want to do math? I'll take into this input as math. So let's say I change this to number, and let's say I ask what is your favorite number instead. Okay, and then let's say after that I want to print the user's number times 2. So if I press run, what is your favorite number? Let's say my favorite number is 6. What's the output when I press enter? 12. Oh no, I see 66 instead. So what's going on? It's taking, if I print the type of number, and let's say I print, okay, so let's say I print number and the type of number, then when I type 6, right, we see the type of the number variable is a string. Its value is 6. Hence, when we take a string times 2, it repeats the string twice. Does it make sense? Yeah, so what can I do if I want to actually double the number as a number? I want to see 12.
Plus.
Okay, we can try that. So what if I do number plus number? But we're going to see that if I type 6, I still see 6 plus 6 as a string. So the hint is we need to get rid of this string thing. We need to convert the string. We need to convert the number from a string variable type to an integer variable type. So if you recall from the previous slide, right, how I can do that is I can write int number times 2. So now this converts number as a string, and when I pass it into the int with the round brackets like that, this one will now be integer type. Then when I multiply by 2, then I see, when I type 6, I see 12. Okay, so so if I get rid of this, so this is one way to do it, but it's actually better if you want to take in a number as an input. It's better to put after this line is you can put number equals to int number. That way I basically immediately override, because now I can from this line onwards I can basically use number as a integer variable type instead of needing to type int number all the time. Okay? And to shorten it even further, I can wrap this entire input thing in the int, then this line I don't need. So now I've taken the input as a number. If I press run, if I type 6, it correctly doubles my number. Okay? So with that, let's attempt input Q1 to 4, where you apply what you have learned. First question tells us to ask the user for their name and store it in a variable called name. Remember, the strings need to be in quotes. So your NX, yeah, that's right.
Do I have to have that string thing there?
Yeah, you have to, if NX is a string, right, you have to, oh, no need, you can put the quotes.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're correct over here. Good job. So you have created a variable called name, so they assign it the value of the string NX, right? And then when you print hello plus name, then okay, but the intention is to ask the user for their name. So when I press run, right, I want to see the thing say what's your name. Then now over here, whenever I type in over here, it'll say hello, whatever. Okay, so if you are a bit confused, let me just refer you back to the slide over here. This is how you obtain the user's input using a certain prompt. So you have the variable name, correct, and equals to, just that instead of assigning it to NX directly, yeah, you ask the user for the input. After you write input, you need the round brackets also. So the input, so from here, right, you need to wrap the entire, if you refer to this, you see where the round brackets go? It goes around the string.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct. So you press run. Then you say what's your name. Now whatever you type, you click on the right hand side and type in your name over there. Yep, so if your name is JH, then you say hello JH. So it's a bit of an eyesore over here because there's a bit of space between here, right? So where can you put the space if you want like to ask the user and leave a space? Yep, correct. So now if you press run, then whenever I type in, let's say let's say this is my name, then it says hello SDAF. Okay, great. So that's for the first question. Yeah, let's move on to the second question. Now this is the same example which we saw just now. You ask the user for a number. Tell the user input an integer, colon, and then whatever they input, right, I want you to print out double of whatever they entered. If you're confused about it, you can check the example over here.
The example is doubling there?
The example is doubling. So 5 becomes 10,
Oh.
right? Minus 1 becomes minus 2.
Okay.
So similar to the previous case, just that now we're dealing with number inputs instead of string inputs. Okay, so you created a variable called integer. Okay, so remember how to take in user's input? We write input and then the thing in quotes that we want to prompt the user. Okay, just that instead of asking people for their name, we want them to input an integer, right?
My brain lagging.
It's okay. Okay, then after they inputted, what do you want to do? Yes, print whatever the integer value is times 2. That's right. Okay, let's try. You see that there's going to be an error that pops up. Okay, so we see there's an error that pops up. And why is that so? It's because you're telling Python basically, remember the int converts the int command converts a number in quotes into a number, just a number alone. So you're telling Python convert these things in quotes into a number, but can it convert input an integer into a number? No, right? What you want to achieve is you want to ask the user for the input. So I believe this should be input over here. So it should be int and then input. So first of all, the first thing you need to alter is this int needs to become an input. So input. Now I press run now. Okay, now at least there's no error. It tells me input an integer. Okay, when we call the input command, whatever I put in here is the prompt to the user. Then when I put 5, we see 55, right? So what do we need to do to
I need to make
this integer variable into an integer, right?
Yeah.
So to do so, you can refer over here. Over here, I created a variable called number, and in order to convert the user's input into an integer, I type int around the input. Just now you just had an int alone, right? Which is why
But isn't the input itself the integer?
the input itself is whatever the user inputted. So let's say over here, when I call input, right, I'm telling Python ask the user to input an integer, which is why when I press run, this prompt that I type over here appears, then it's waiting for me to type something. So whatever I type, right, whatever I type in, this entire input clause this entire input segment will be replaced by whatever I type in. So effectively it's saying integer equals to 34 in this case. Integer equals to 55, or integer equals to whatever the user input types in. Maybe. Okay, so yeah, good that you put a space there. So if I want to convert this integer variable from the string type into a number, so what I mean by this is that right now if I do print type of integer, right, now when I press run, when I type 5, see integer is a string, but I don't want it to be a string because string times 2 repeats the string twice. I want integer to be a number, right?
Okay, then when would you ever need it to be a string?
You need it to be a string if let's say you're asking the user for their name, right? Then the previous example we didn't convert it to an integer.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Strings is for text information, but in this case we want the user to input a number, right? Yeah, that's right. Int around that. Okay, yeah. You press run.
This one need to be there.
You can delete it. Okay, so now it tells me to input an integer, right? Let's say I type 6. I see 12 appear. Okay, so what happens over here is whatever the user inputted, right, the part I highlighted now, input integer, is effectively replaced with 6 with a quotes. And then now 6 with a quotes, right, convert this string into an integer type. This int 6 is replaced with 6. Then now integer equals to 6, print integer times 2. Make sense? Yeah. So what's going on in Python's mind is that that's the replacement that's going on. Okay. Yeah. So if not, yeah, you can submit it, and let's move on to the next question. That's right. Create a variable called name to store.
And that?
Remember to ask the user for their input. We need to use the input command like this.
But what about the string?
Oh.
Is it naturally?
Input itself returns a string by natural. Yeah.
So only for numbers you have to
Exactly. Only for numbers we have to put int around it. If you can put string, it just doesn't do anything. It's logically the same.
bracket, right?
Brackets go, the open and close bracket go after your input. Yeah. Then inside the open and close bracket, you're passing in the things in quotes. Okay, close. Yeah, you put it in brackets. That's right. Great. So now I want to calculate their birth year. So let's say they give you Bob and 19, right? I want to say a tiny Bob appeared in 2003. Right, calculate their birth year from their age. Okay. Okay, so this requires the use of formatted strings we went through in the code just now. And it looks something like that. Okay, so do you know what to do? Okay, so do you need a bit of hint?
I think I know.
Okay, so as a start, right, maybe to make it to make sure that your program is running okay so far, it's completely a good practice to output whatever your variables are. So maybe over here, as a first, to slowly build towards the answer, you can do print name and print age, so that when then you press run and make sure that the program is okay so far. So that's making sure that your input is okay. So if you can start from there if you are sure. So print name, yeah, and then print age. Okay, just to see what happens when you press run. Okay, then you press run. So ask for your name. So and what's your age? 2. So you see that you outputted name, which is this, and age, which is this 2. Okay. So from here you can slowly build up. So okay, so you need to calculate 2003 from 19, right? If it's 2, you need to calculate 2020, right? So how do we calculate the year of birth? Remember our area of circle example? So maybe we want to create a new variable called birth year and calculate the value of birth year from age. What would that operation be? So how do you calculate the birth year from the age?
Need a current year.
Yeah, you can, by all means, you can create a current year variable, or you can do the, you can just type in directly. Both works. Not quite. Currently, okay. So if you did that, right, then you're
yeah,
asking.
Shouldn't be asking. Okay.
Yeah, shouldn't be asking. You have to calculate it from their age. Currently, you wrote birth year equals to. You want to calculate the birth year from the age, right? So you take current year and.
Do I need the?
You don't need the quotes because they're numbers.
Okay.
No need. You just write age itself. So age is a variable. Current year is a variable. They are both numbers, so you can subtract them.
Okay.
And as a sanity check, before outputting this fancy string, maybe you just want to print birth year just to check. Now age 3, then I ask for the year now. Okay, nothing was outputted, right? It's because even though you created the variable and assigned it current year minus age, which in this case was 2024 minus.
I need to put print birth year.
Yeah, exactly. Only when you print something, only when you use the print command would Python print it to the screen. Okay. Make sense? Yeah, great. So in the exercise, I didn't tell the people to ask for the current year, but it's great that you went the extra step. Okay, so now instead of writing just 2021, right, let's say a tiny person's name appeared in his birth year. Okay, so for example, how do you use, so this is where formatted strings comes in, when you want to use the value of, when you want to print out the value of a variable instead of literally the variable name itself. If I say you are 8 years old, I'm going to see you are 8 years old. But if I put age around these curly brackets, then I can print the value of the variable with the variable name age instead. You see the difference? If I highlight it even more.
So if you're not going to print all the words, then there's no need for the.
Yeah, so if I'm not going to print all the words, I can just print age, then that works. So to define a formatted string, you need the word, the letter F over here before the before the quotes, opening quote. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, then like that.
And then they're done. Yeah. So now because all your print statements here was just for debugging, we call it, it's just for like testing, right? You can comment that out if you want.
Oh.
Maybe we don't want to delete it yet because we might want to have in future, so you can comment it out using hashtag. Exactly. So coding is like that, it's going back and forth, right? We don't always get the answer straight away. We prototype and test a bit more. Repeat, fail, and then we find out what's wrong. Okay, so you press run. Okay, so what's your age? $19. What's the year now? 2022. Awesome. A tiny JH appeared in 2003. Okay, can? Okay, yeah, you can press submit, and let's move on to Q4.
What does float mean?
Okay, let me get to that. Okay, so what is float, right? So when you ask for, let's say, number, let's say I have a height, right, equals to, I have height equals to input, what's your height, like that, right? And then let's say I want to say, and then let's say I want to ask for the user's weight also, right? Let's say I want to build a BMI calculator. So I have what's your weight, okay? And then after that, I calculate the BMI by using BMI equals to weight divided by height squared, right? And I print your BMI is BMI, right? Looks something like that. What's the mistake in this code? Type, let's say in 1.75, what's our weight? Let's say 60. What's the mistake in this code? It's because my height and weight are numbers, right? So I need to put int around it. Okay, so if it's int, okay, so I didn't type int. If I type int, okay, so now my height and weight, let's say my height is 1 and let's say my weight is 2. Okay, it works well. But the problem is that our height is in meters is a decimal number, right? 1.75, right? We see an error. So what it's trying to say is that invalid literal for int with base 10, 1.75. It's trying to say this one, 1.75, was the whatever the user inputted. It's trying to convert 1.75 into an integer, but 1.7 is not an integer, right? So float is basically, what is a float in Python? Is basically a decimal. So if I replace int here with float and int here with float, then now I can accept decimal inputs. So what's your height? 1.75. Okay. What's your weight? 60. Also okay. My BMI is this. Okay. So we have a, so in summary, right? If we have input name equals to input name for, this one is for when we take a string as an input, right? A text as an input, we don't need anything. We just have input. If we take number, integer equals to input integer. If we take a whole number as an input, we need the int around it. And if we take a decimal equals to float, then this one decimal. So in summary, these are the three types of input you can take in. Okay, so in this case, I want you to build a calculator, and a calculator in general can take in decimal numbers, right? So let's build a calculator where we can take float in. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the instructions have appeared. So I want you to take in two numbers and then subsequently calculate their sum, difference, multiplication, and divide. Something I didn't mention is that your variable names cannot have numbers. Cannot have numbers at the start, I think. You can type first with a FIRST. Okay, you spell it if you want. Yeah. Or yeah, that works. First number. So inside you put the prompt that you want.
Like how do you make it parallel instead of in one whole? You just enter, press enter.
As in, how do you make it? Which parallel?
In the example, it's like one line and two line.
Oh, you mean this one?
The first one.
This one? Oh, like how do you put a new line? Oh, what I did over here was before that I wrote a print statement saying print, hi, I'm a calculator.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so as you're incrementally building a program, maybe you want to try like printing first number plus second number first instead of going through every. Yeah, so you try to design the logic part of it first, then we can build nicer stuff around it. Okay, press run, give it a try. So so there shouldn't be a space there. Okay, great. Okay, what if you need to change that, the float if you want to accept decimals. Makes sense? Okay, great. then you can go ahead and repeat the minus times divide just as exercise.
I want to print the whole thing. How?
Oh, you want to print the whole thing, right? Okay, so what I did over there was I actually wrote print formatted string, and then now I want to print the first number, right? I want to print the value of the first number. So I do first. I think you get it, yeah. You did apply addition already, so maybe the next thing you can try is subtraction. Okay, one thing to note is you need to close your opening quote over there, you need to close it. Okay, so what you're trying to achieve?
I need to name that thing, right?
Okay, so what you're looking for is a variable. You can maybe create a variable called sum.
Instead of print. Okay.
Yeah, so create a variable called sum equals to. In the next lesson, we can learn what if we want to compare the big number and the small number and then take the bigger one minus the smaller one. How we can do that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, for the last one, I can tell you a small tip, which is that instead of, okay, this one you need to change, right? So instead of doing that, right, I can do the last one for you, but let me show you what I'll do. I'll copy, paste. So, but instead of having this line here, I can actually shorten it. This one, just now I put a variable name inside here, right? But I can actually put any value. I can really put 23 times first number or anything. So I can actually type first number.
Oh, directly inside.
Yeah, divide by second number. That works as well. And then here I'll need to change the division. Yeah. So but since you wrote all those, it's fine. It works great. When you press run, then what will you see? First number is 2, second number is 0. Awesome. So you've just built a calculator that given two numbers, right, you calculate 4 quantities, plus minus times divide. And that's something even your current calculator cannot do immediately without any programming. Okay? 明白吗?
明白.
Okay, great. Okay, so are you excited to make your own website?
A website, yes.
Okay. So, okay, let's talk about the website. Okay, maybe you can go over to envil.works, this website, envil.works, and sign up for an account first.
Do I have to screen share this?
I
can start recording.
Screen share can?
Okay,
Yeah, because I want to record the whole thing then.
可以.
If you have enough space, then yeah.
Can, I think I have enough.
You can sign up for an account and then this is how we can create websites using Python. Then I will start recording here.
Wow.